What's up, good people? How you doing? Woo! Happy Monday to y'all. Hope you had a good weekend. I did. Who's feeling inspired today? All right, so we are just about there. This big old freaking library we've been grinding on all month. Yo, Cardiac, how are you? Paulie, welcome back. It's been a minute. It's good to see you. Saffron, good morning. Greetings from sunny Maryland, says Paul. It is bright gray, slightly moist. Thinking about turning into spring over here. We got walloped with some rain yesterday. Branches falling all over the place. Howdy doody buckaromies. Eric, how you doing? Saying AO to Polly again, just because. Purple Pros, welcome back. Happy Monday. How was your weekend? Some fire dramatic basses. Uh-oh, pressure's on. I figured we'll start with some basses, but we might work our way into either some transition effects or some really weird, and by weird I mean like Hans Zimmer squelchy-ish kind of smeary kind of effects out of some of these basses. Oh, Paulie. Mr. Paul Ortola, fighting the urges. We're here for you, Paul. Too much hardware. There is such a thing, right? But is there such a thing as too many plugins? I'm not sure. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's when you can resist. Where can you find that kind of restraint, says Polly. It may just come out of a hard spot, right? Like, I'm out of room. Do I give up my bed for this piece of gear? Or my refrigerator? What up, Javar? How you doing? Weird is the best. I totally agree. Zeeb Xanthorpe. Freaking name. It gets me every single time. Zeeb Xanthorpe. It's just so great. Where's that from again? Where's that from again? You told us last time and I've already forgotten. Full moon in Scorpio was yesterday, so you've been a little amped this weekend. Good to hear it. Hope you've been able to pour the energy into something. A bigger modular rack, says everyone who has a smaller modular rack. Oh, great to hear it, Cardiac. I'm always so pleased to hear that things help sometimes. Rick and Morty, that's right. God, why can I not remember that? Zeep Xanthorpe, it's just so freaking epic. It's probably because whenever I have Rick and Morty on, I'm fairly distracted and it's really, really late. Maybe that's why. Polly says, who needs a refrigerator anyway? It's still fairly cold outside. Well, maybe not for you. You're down in like warm land down there. Up here, it still gets cold. It'll get to freezing tonight, to 32. And then I think we're probably turning the corner into real spring. Samertz, hello. How are you? Happy Monday. You can keep your gear in the fridge. It'll never overheat. When I was young in high school, I had a bunch of friends that gutted out their refrigerators, um, and like knocked in the sides, fixed it all back up with duct tape so they could fit kegs in there. And I remember asking them, like, what are you going to do for food? And they all just kind of gave me the same kind of similar look, like, what? But yeah, I mean, if you put your gear in the fridge, then where are you going to put your keg? Oh, man. Man. Yeah. Malcolm Cecil. And we've lost some good ones this year, huh? Yeah. Cardiac, I am in Portland, Oregon. Keep your Korg on the keg. Oh, dude. Dude. Album name right there. Korg on the keg. You put a small kegerator, a dented up keg, and a nice Korg sitting on top. I can see it. I can almost hear it. 15 minutes of heavy hail yesterday. Oh, man. Yeah, it's weird, huh? We have these tiny little pockets. It was just, yeah, it was real, like a bipolar spring day. It was like really, really nice and really, really um, stormy all in one day. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's jump into something. Wait, that's not serum. Let's jump into serum. Can't make my crazy dope bass with arcade. You kidding me? Have you guys been tracking all the goodness from output? We're doing crazy things. Whoa, 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 wait, hold on a second. You had a blizzard on Friday, Steve Santhorpe? You got caught up in the final winter push. Rivers of hail flowing down our street. I love that. Hail and thunder on the island. Nice, nice, nice. Iggy Oak, I am doing well. How are you? And thank you, by the way, for always asking. You're stellar. Anybody that does not have a sub badge next to your name, you might want to hit that because we will be moving on from this month's free sound pack shortly because it's almost the end of the month. And we're going to put up another one. So if you want both of them, you might as well resub now. Grab them. You got Funky over there right now. Who knows what else I'm going to toss up there before the end of the month. And then we'll get something new at the beginning of April because it's almost freaking April already. It's ridiculous. Oh, dude. Polly, let me tell you something, man. Number one, I am so, so glad to hear that you're using Absinthe and FMA. And, I'm honored to be a part of that. And number two, you should never worry about when. The important thing is that you've found them and that they're yours for the rest of your life. That's what matters most. Oh man, Absinthe and FM8. Where would we be without Absinthe and FM8? I mean, seriously. Man. Maybe we should do some work in FM8 today too. That sounds good. Break out some cool stuff. Paul, I had no idea that you were living in a shack made of toothpicks and tinfoil. Is this what it's come to because of all the gear that you bought up? Yeah, FM8 is so crazy and good. Man, especially once you start really taking advantage of the morphine matrix and the easy morph tab and all the controls in there. Everything just so great. So great. Yeah, Cohen Sound does a lot does a lot of just truly, truly fantastic ththings in FMA. They've got some of the best sound ever. They're so meticulous. It's great. Hmm. The cardboard too. Oh man. Well, at least you're living in a place where you're like not in the constant state of distress weather-wise, huh? Yeah, Cohen Sounds mixes are incredible. Like going back to the very beginning too. Like they've just been impressive, and they are not afraid. Like they have a great idea and they chase it and they make sure that it's just absolutely perfect. I just love them. They're just absolutely great. Yes, 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 yes. Everything that they've been able to squeeze into the trip hop category is impressive. All right, let's make a sound. Let's do a little rhythmic thing. Maybe we'll start with 16ths from the ground up. Start with basic sign. This back over here. Make it a little tighter. We could do the same over here and use a second LFO, but we can make this one kind of loose. And maybe we'll bring this one down two semitones, weird tension. And we'll put this one up like this, a little lower. Let's drop this. And let's put in something a bit more interesting here. Maybe, maybe I'll just use one of my Formants? Spectral? How about a spectral? Yeah, we can do that. Let's also bump this up a bit. Kind of detuned and jangly, and it's down just 2 steps, so it's just off all the way around. That'll sound nice. Yeah, something like that. Now, let's start making this a little weird. And let's also start morphing through. And morph through this one as well. All right, those have a little bit of love. Let's maybe add a little FM to this. And let's put that second slow one over here. Gonna morph up into that a bit. Let's get a sub in here. Let's toss this on the biggin. And let's put this all into a filter now that it's all starting to sound a little weird. Okay. And we'll put this into a, let's say a 4-bar. And we'll trigger that. See you soon, cardiac. Serenity now, serenity now. Oh, Saf, your power went out 5 times. Dude, that sucks. Let's find a bass or a noise that goes with this. A paper bag. Glass lid. Let's just listen to these individually here. That sounds better to me. All right, what does that one sound like when we put it into a rhythm? Yeah, that's cool. That's just a little bit too off. Okay, find a better one. All right, let's give this thing some character, huh? All right. Limiter and character time. And let's also one last linear on here. Let's get back into serum here, and let's alter this one just a little bit. Let's go down on this, up on this, and let's do a quantize. Ooh. Hey, when is Gearsluts changing their name? I'm just catching up with chat here. Oh man, yeah, 3 really big trees halfway down by beavers already. Those are definitely coming down soon, right? There's a bit of the Flash Gordon in there, huh? I hate when work gets in the way of stream time. Oh man. You gotta juggle quite a bit while your favorite streamers are during the day. Yeah, a nice bit of phase modulation in there. I feel that. How are my jam sessions going with Zev? They're going great, actually. We had to take 2 weeks off because of my back. So we jammed last week, and we're doing this one. God, each song is totally different. This one is a bit more. Um, well, it's starting a bit more like traditional music, not any of the weirder stuff that we've made or any of the like more electronic stuff. Um, we'll get you guys a peep soon, for sure, so you guys can keep tabs on what we're doing. Still trying to come up with a good name for the project, actually. Yeah, Zeep Xanthorpe. I think Twitch. I think one of the greatest things about it, besides the serious lack of trolling, um, knock on wood that doesn't really ever catch up here, um, is just like the constant reinforcement of life's lesson that everyone is just a person, right? And you get to hang out with some folks that, like you said, you never thought you'd ever be able to, and it's pretty awesome. Is that plugin doing ring mod? Which one? The thermal here. Um, no, it's got a phaser, and I've got a phaser going on serum as well. But then I've also, on top of that, I've got a comb at the very end, and I've got that happening after the reverb, and I'm about to go in there and put some saturation right after that reverb too. So whatever we're hearing in regards to the phase comb combo effect that sounds um, um, sorry, I got distracted. It sounds a bit like the ring mod. It's going to be kind of amplified here in just a sec. And yes, this is some film scoring sounds. These are definitely sounds that will be found in the new cinematic library, for sure. Yeah, so Polly, you kind of inspired me, to be fair. You inspired me because I jumped into Damien's chat very briefly this morning before I fired up my rig over here. And Samir, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you. Um, and Polly was saying, "Hey, you've inspired me, and I really liked your stream on risers." And I said, "I'm sitting here trying to figure out if I'm going to do some bass or some transition effects or more risers because I need all of them." And then I thought, "Hey, what if I just make some cool grimy ass basses, and then take those into other cool secret weapons and make some cool transition effects out of them and stuff." Um, And what was going through my mind when I was thinking that was very much like Dark Knight type stuff. Um, Not really looking for um, a bunch of like the ever wind up type thing, but something kind of something kind of greasy, grimy, smeary. Yeah. Oh, shoot, we have an alien in the room. Damn it. What's up, Nate? How you doing, man? Um, yeah, thermal is the poop, Xanthorpe. Truly. Way to say hi, Saf. All right, so saturation time. Because we just don't have enough. And for this, I think I'm just going to do something custom. So we'll just do an asymmetrical X shape, and we'll make it kind of mostly smooth to start with, and then we'll just morph out from there. All right, so that's the first side. And the second side we'll make a bit more hard so we can start getting some really tight edges out of that thing. That might be a little too chunky. We'll find out. We'll find out together. All right, let's find a good spot for that. And let's do a band. Pro tip, if you're making loops and you want them to loop, trigger your LFOs. That's better. Much better. All right. Start recording some stuff in here. And also, let's just test one more semitone on this one instead of two. Let's try 3. right, let's just lay out a few of these. Let's do, and since these will be mostly kind of an atonal thing, let's do, Maybe no key on these. Get a little true peak metering happening here. And we'll get our limiter maximizer set up in place. All right, let's just see if we kept this tight enough to be able to bounce loop this. It's close. It's not perfect, but it's close. All right, let's get back in here and slow this first one down to 1/8 notes. And listen to that same thing again. Let's do that too. All right, so this is 1/8 notes. Let's give this other one a name so I don't lose track. Text. And this was 16th notes. So we'll come back up here and let's change this one to quarter notes. And let's change this one to half notes. Half time action here. So we'll call that good. We'll say this is 1 bass and quarter. And now let's just do a little inverse action. So on this first one, we'll set to a half. Set this second one to an 1/8. Got to tighten up our reaction time here. Serum. FX. call that good. All right, so we'll say 1 bass, and this is, I think, 1/8 notes. And inverted. And do it again. And let's do this up to 1/4, and we'll send this up to 16th notes. Dip back into our compressor. This one good. And this was 16ths inverted. Yes. All right, and let's do one more. On this one, we shall say we're going to go with half and a full bar. And let's bring that compression back down again. And just to change it up a little, let's take off this one. And let's put on this one. It's over here, super tight pluck. Set this up to 16ths. bounce this one. All right, and this is, we'll say this is a half inverted. Sweet, so we just got 6 out of that. Very nice. I got some catching up to do over here, huh? Oh, I see Zev is here. Welcome, Zev. You must have been hearing us talk about you. Your ears burning? We were talking about you right before you showed up, apparently. I've been ignoring everyone for a few minutes. Quick thermal question. Are the stages in parallel or serial? It's a very good question. These bad boys are in parallel. Now you also have a refilter option on each one of them. It's just so great, isn't it? It just gives you so many flippin' options all the time. It's just so great. It's so good. It has quickly become the greatest multi-band saturation plugin ever, I think. It's just so good. And that's coming from someone that really, really enjoyed Saturn. Like when I first saw Saturn, even the first version of Saturn, I was like, oh, wow, why can't everything be this good? And then Trash was updated to Trash 2, and then Saturn was updated to 2, and I was just in heaven. And then Thermal came along, and I was like, why was everything so awful before? You know, Zamer, I think that is the future. I think that's the future. I'm just reading your comment about it would be cool if there were custom MIDI controllers for our favorite synths that look the same as the screen visual. I think that's coming very soon. I really, really do. When you look at the wave morphine centric displays that are on some like wavetable synth gear right now, I think we're kind of getting there visual wise, and I think that with just the iPad alone, you could do pretty much all of this. You could do pretty much all of it. It takes it away from the medium that we really want. So I think that screen action's coming soon. I really do. In my perfect world, you know, there used to be, I forget the brand. Someone here can probably shout out the name. The old scoring keyboards with the big screen embedded right in it, touch enabled screen. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. Yeah, but as soon as I saw that for the very first time, which was like, I don't even know, a decade ago, maybe more, I remember thinking, oh, wow, this is the future until AR really starts to kick in. Because I think that the augmented reality stuff is really going to be where a lot of this goes. We'll just wear some gloves or something like that, right? I don't know. You feel like you're about to be eaten by a Decepticon. That's awesome. Good morning, Zev. Did you have a good weekend? And did you put any more time in on the thing we started last week? Autobots, roll out. Hi, bye, Zev. Oh yeah, G-Force. Absolutely. Decepticons, Thermal. Just watch the Snyder Cut. Nate admitting being an alien. What's going on? This is the point where everything comes together, Paulie. Oh man. Happy Monday. You shouldn't have said all those words in that order out loud, Paulie. They're coming for you. Get out the window, man. Ah, thank you, Nate. I'm just reading your comment saying this is rad. Oh, nice. You opened up the set with our latest ambient track. Very cool. Very cool. I'll have to get that mastered for us. Um... Oh, Paulie, you should not have written that little bit about your taxes. Now everyone's going to think that you just disappeared because of your taxes. We know what's going to happen. We know what's really going on. Has nothing to do with me figuring out the matrix. It's purely because of the IRS, obviously. Oh man. All my homies hate the IRS. Now that is a t-shirt right there. Oh, all my homies hate the IRS. Boom, right there. Gear Space announcement. What are you posting here, Paul? What's going on? Damn DMCA's. Wow, you guys have been talking a lot. I was ignoring you for a few minutes, wasn't I? Tens of thousands worth of modular audio recorded on a phone. Oh, dude, Eric, congratulations and welcome, dude. Welcome. And you know, as soon as more people in the community start picking up, um, well, thermal especially, but I think Portal as well, I'll start kicking you guys some presets, some of the stuff that we make in stream. So. Yeah, yeah, Samaritan, it's really about the knobs and the faders, huh? Like really getting your fingers on something. Absolutely. Oh, good. Cardiac is back. We can actually start doing things again. We've just been sitting here talking about you forever. Hmm. Oh, Beardy Man. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and movement. Yeah, we can knock out presets for movement as well. Oh, Cardiac says they are ready to proceed. Okay, cool. Cardiac Records. I forget which one is which. Is this Live or I forget. I forget which one is. Ah. Oh yeah, dude, isn't Portal great? It's definitely one of the best granular delays out there. I think that output as far as app design, they're really starting to hit their stride. I don't know how many of you have dipped back into arcade in the last few weeks. I personally, I'm still running the developers version, so I don't get to play with all of the instant auto magical features for the single sample synth creator thing that they've got going on inside of arcade now. But I'm telling you, the future, man, the future. This is all just the future. Oh, Cardiac Records is Anthony. What's up, dude? So Liv has got the other account. I got you. Paulie passed on thermal for Saturn. Um, very sad after the Enlightenment today. Well, no, you just do too. I mean, there are times when I still open Saturn. Although, you know, rarer and rarer. I don't think, now that I'm saying that out loud, I don't know that I've actually added my serials back into my FabFilter stuff since I got this machine. And that has been since this live stream started several months ago. So Uh, as someone who absolutely loves FabFilter stuff, I haven't been touching it. Yeah, I guess that's just how good this is. Live parties while Anthony records. Nice. It's a team effort. All right, let's just listen through these really quick and see if I actually still like them a couple of minutes later. Yeah, it's okay. Let's go in here and change up the timbre a bit and then start moving around the octaves. Let's do a couple of my older ones, like maybe a precious metal and a howler. Ooh, maybe I should go back and save that patch. Nah, I'll build them later. Maybe a tiny monster. All right, and let's swap out this wave shaper that I made, and we'll put a down sample into that instead. Bring all of that back. Let's see. Yeah. Gnarly. Let's get our supercharger under control here. Oh, that was super easy. bounce this one. This is going to be, we'll call this 2 bass, and this is going to be a 1/2 inverted. Always good to have a nice separate pod account. Eric saying distortion plugins are like reverbs or compressors. You never seem to have enough, and there's always something else you really need. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It can feel that way sometimes. I find though that when I step away from a tool for a little while and then I come back to it, I quickly remember just how much of it I don't always use. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Cardiac says, so I spent a lot of time in Logic before switching to Ableton, but part of me is missing Logic. I don't think it's as accessible as Ableton for our style of production, but I still miss it. I've been thinking about doing my mixing mastering in Logic, some of the stock EQ. Thoughts? Absolutely. Absolutely. I know a ton of people that do the large part of their ideation, creation, arranging, and even performance in Ableton, but they do 100% of their mixing and mastering inside of Logic. Logic is still really a super solid studio environment, so I think that it feels a bit more grounding for some people in that sense. And then the plugins tend to be a bit more visual and inspiring for a lot of people. And I think that a lot of the plugins are just, I don't want to say higher quality, truer to what they're emulating might be a better way of saying it. And then I think that there's just, uh, I guess perhaps a more established ecosystem feel to it. So things work well in tandem together. There's very low CPU usage on most of the plugins. The sound of them is great, but the visual and the inspiration and that kind of grounded studio feeling, I think is really, it's beneficial for a lot of people. And I will also say that staying sharp in more than one environment is not just good for your music, it's good for you. It's good for your brain. It's good for your soul. When you're working in multiple tools, it reminds you just how savvy you are, just how much you've grown, how much you can wield, right? And it also reminds you, like in a very humbling way, just how much you don't know, right? And I like that because if I'm not learning something in a day, I feel like I haven't really accomplished much. I have a fairly high output from day to day. So it's not necessarily about output for me. It's more about like accomplishment and like those feelings that kind of circle it. Um, and I can't get a lot of that while working in other DAWs. And I think that part of it just has to do with me finding a happy place between intention, discovery, and inspiration. I think that's really got to find that sweet spot. So if you're missing it, just go back to it and don't even wonder why. Like, don't even question. Don't even ponder. Just do it. Just do it. It's part of your soul is wanting it. So just do it. I need metering. Just downloaded the ULearn trial. Any other suggestions? Don't want to spend too much if I have to. ULearn is $37. So that's the bar. Um, hmm. What are you running through ultimately, Paul? What's your DAW? I know that everything is VCV over there, but are you running a standard DAW? And yeah, I would say that the EQ I use constantly, especially for subtractive stuff. The metering stuff is great. I use the metering on everything. Um, and the goniometer is solid. Like it's very, very dependable. The true peak metering is really dependable and solid. Um, Everything's good. Everything's really good. Span is pretty good for free. You lean. Oh, that's what it is. You lean. And now with extra purple hour of power, what has polished up your aura? Zeep uses BX meter, you lean, and span. So here's the thing about the constant metering of frequencies and stuff. The more you guys use those, do you feel that you need to be checking them? And what is it specifically that you are continually getting out of them that makes it feel more like a need than a best practice? Because I ask this because these are things that you should be able to train your ears to do quite well, and correlating the visual to the audio over time is a process. But how often are you guys not using it and then just going back in and using it every once in a while to double check your work? Because if you're not, you probably should start doing that. I think everybody involved in this conversation right here in this chat, I think has been doing this for long enough that you should be providing yourself that challenge, right? Because until you do, you don't actually realize how much your ears and abilities have grown over time. And that's one of the most rewarding moments of your ongoing career, are all of those little level ups that you get. And I love it when I don't have to load up plugins. And then when I go back and I load them up just to check my work and it's all spot on. I freaking love that. You know what I mean? Oh, snap. I should put 92 in these. I'll just put in an extra track here. Just forgot to label all my loops. Steve says he hasn't found one plugin that tells everything that they all do. Yeah. Yeah, Zeep, I hear you, man. Find something you want and wait for it to go on sale, huh? Or just wait for someone to send it to me and ask me to do a review on it. To rewire Ableton into Logic, best of both worlds, Ableton is clunky for mixing. That's from Eric. Oh, adapter's good too, yeah. Right. Reaper, that's right. What else has really good metering? Hey, Paul, didn't you pick up something from Isotope a while back? A bundle? Maybe it wasn't you. I thought it was you though, because if you did, then you got some really good metering stuff. And Isotope does amazing things. You can put a VST anywhere in your chain. Okay, cool. You use them to double check your ears and you don't trust yourself. Okay, so Zeep, how often do you think you find that you are double checking yourself? You have to go back and make edits to what you've just done. And do you feel like that's changed over time? I'm always curious to know where people are on their learning curve. Typically look for frequency peaks and gaps as a reference. Ooh, purple makes you invent things? Man, I wish I knew if there was like a certain food or color or something that made me more creative or inventive or something. I feel like I'm always just doing. Um, so I don't think I've ever really given myself to get caught up in the like the triggers of it all. Zeep is saying, I've been getting closer. I do have those moments of pride when I see I got it right. That's excellent. Yeah, those are the moments. Those are the moments. As long as you're giving yourself an opportunity to have those moments, then I think like collect as many plugins as you want. Um, Saffron says, I think I might get why producers have so many different compressors, like both hardware and software. Yeah, dude, I think you are starting to get all that. It's all about flavor. Like when Cardio was asking about the stock plugins, I think I mentioned that the EQs are great, especially for subtractive work. The reason I said that is because I still do have EQs that I like for additive, and sometimes I load them up and I don't do anything. I'm simply just running something through them to warm up a signal in a certain way. And there's something to be said about that. So each plugin, someone might have 15 compressors, most of us do, and there's a reason. Might just take a little while for you to figure out what each one is best for. Yeah, dude, Paul. Yeah, exactly. The isotope neutron element stuff. So, the neutron elements that should, I think, have metering built into it. You can trust their metering supremely. I mean, that's what they're in the business of doing. Cardiac says, when subtractive EQ hunting, I've been intentionally making a choice and then using a notch EQ to check it. I was right. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So that's the only main concern that I have when people are buying more and more of the same kind of plugin, and it sometimes seems like maybe they're looking for a panacea, like some kind of like um, the thing that's going to fix their mix or whatever. But really, like back in the day, we had to sit there and listen and listen and listen, and sometimes we were moving that knob like a quarter of a tick, and able to hear a significant enough difference to be going back and forth between these two positions for a while, and then having to take a break and then do it again. And I think that process, as mundane as it may seem nowadays in the age of presets and stuff, um, there's something really profoundly important about it. Um, and it's not just about like allowing your ears to recognize these things. It's about the neural pathways that we're building when we're doing it. Polly says, I usually only use metering at the very end of something to confirm if what I'm hearing meets the standards. It honestly stops my creative flow if I try and be super technical in that way. I'm wrong like 30% of the time. Still love the process. Yeah. Purple, I think it's great that you know exactly what triggers these different things in you. That's awesome. Getting really close. I'm still about 100 hertz off. Well, that's a lot down low, but nothing up top. So you're doing all right. I'm assuming that down low, you're pretty spot on. Synergistic color therapy is potent stuff. Maybe you should start making your own bath blends, Purple, since you know the magic. I bet that's the type of thing that could sell well online. Send someone a little envelope of magic. Fun idea. Trying a color therapy day where everyone does a color and see what happens. You know what happens. Yeah, Paul, dude, I'm sure you've probably got something in there from Isotope, and if it can save you a few bucks. But seriously, they make such good stuff. Polly says, my trigger for creativity is cold stone, or I deprive myself of sleep. I get mad creative if I'm tired, and I have no idea why. Dude, seriously, yeah. It's like doing the best work in the middle of the night kind of thing, right? I think it's because inhibitions are reduced. It's the same reason why some people perform better after a shot or a puff or something. And I think it's really just because we start to get out of our own way. As long as we don't start to feel like we need that to get out of our own way, right? Yeah. According to Google, supposedly yellow and orange are supposed to inspire creativity and inspiration, but I think it just comes down to what mood the colors put you in. Javar, I would agree with that because, like, we all have some pretty unique and specific experiences with different types of input in our lives, right? Um, like, I know some people that quite literally just fall asleep within like a minute or two when they hear a heartbeat. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I've learned over the years that that's not uncommon, that a lot of people fall asleep very, very quickly to the sound of a heartbeat. I've known people that had to stop producing their ambient music. They make like very, very mellow stuff. They had to stop producing with flutes early on in their productions because when they listened to them again and again and again, they got into this super like hypnotic mindset and they had a really hard time actually getting out of their own tracks. Um, Talk about hard time getting out of your own way, right? Um, yeah. I had another friend that had black lights on constantly in their studio. And when the lights burned out, they had the hardest time creating. Um, and um, like they never really affected me. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. Ah, see now purple's divvying this up between mind and body. So your body goes orange, mind gets violet. Interesting. Orange is manually creative, tactile. Huh. A tantric blend on accident. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Cardiac, like when you start to really grok, like fully truly understand like the idea of frequencies and how they move and how much space they take and all of that, and it's so applicable to everything around us. Ooh, blue sky, blue sky peeking out. Yeah, in the classroom, I'm always reminding people that everything in our existence, all of our perception of everything runs through some kind of an envelope, and that everything is basically the same. We're just perceiving these different things with different senses, right? Because everything is really, truly like vibrations and connections. Orange is the inhibition color. So wait, are you saying that when you are exposed to more orange light, your inhibitions go down? Is that what you're saying? And then what would the opposite of that be? Um, yeah, what would that be? Like green or something? Yeah, dude, Polly, me too. That's it. I'll be fading in and out of sleep, and boom, I hear a symphony or a crazy melody. Yeah, I quite literally will hear entire movements. I'll hear like it's like someone's turned on the radio or something, and I'm hearing something, and I kind of wish that they'd turn it off so I could get some rest, but at the same time, I'm super captivated by the whole thing. Yeah, Paul. Oh, Ben's here. What up, nanowires? Oh, Zamer. Yeah, when you've got something right, you can sit there and listen to it for hours. Oh, Eric, black lights are the dark bulbs, the like dark purple bulbs that make like bright colors like fluorescent in there. You know, like when you go to the club and you see like yellow and orange, it's like whoosh, black lights. Purple saying yellow makes people tune into the left side of their brain so they can be prone to get skeptical. Ooh, interesting. Ben says, this is the most acid conversation ever. The sound of the spectators in a sports stadium knocks me out. The sound of thousands of human voices seems to be a very particular kind of white noise. Yeah, see, so now um, I wonder a couple things. Okay. One, I wonder if maybe when you were growing up, someone in the house watched a lot of sports, you didn't care about them, you used to fall asleep. Or maybe like lifetimes ago, you know, your ancestors just lived in really big, busy communal places and y'all fall asleep to people talking or something. I don't know. I got kind of fascinated with this stuff when I was living in Thailand. I quite literally saw people like climb out of their there's different types of like taxis and carts and tuk-tuks and stuff over there, and there's these really old school ones where they quite literally like reach down and hold these two handles and they start walking, right? And these guys, when it's like midday and it's like a breezy day, it's not too hot, they'll quite literally like pull over to the side of the road, get out, climb up on top, and just take a nap. I've seen other guys like finish a meal and then like walk across the street over to a market and lay down on like a giant bag of rice or something. I've also seen quite literally kids like lay down, like it could just be on the ground too, and another kid like lay down on top of them because they're soft and they fall asleep. It's just amazing to me. And I look at these things and I'm like, there is no way I could ever fall asleep in any of these situations. What is the name of the frequency chart? Um, Zemertz. I think I need a little more info on that one. What's the name of the frequency chart? Oh, they're frequencies for different notes and instruments. Well, there's a whole bunch, but yeah, there are. There. In fact, you could even just look up frequency chart by instrument, and you'll probably find a couple of dozen really solid color coded ones, and they're helpful, especially if you do like orchestral type stuff. And even then, this can help you with your mixing in general because you can kind of correlate certain sounds that you make to certain instrument types. And as long as you're playing within their originally or their like original frequency realm, um, if you're using similar instrument types, you can create mixes that sound fantastic together without actually having to use a lot of plugins, right? It's like when everyone stays in their own lane and you've got a guitarist, a bassist, a keyboardist, and a vocalist and a drummer, right? They all just kind of naturally mix. Donovan, Mellow Yellow. Purple says if you go to a party and you're a nervous sipper but want to stay sober-ish, wear yellow or blue or play mind video games like Tetris, Minesweeper, or Suma. Interesting. Javar says, my biggest problem is that my brain basically doesn't shut off. I'm always lucid dreaming, which is great because I don't have nightmares. I just change them. But it also means I rarely get real sleep, so I stay tired. I have a loud white noise machine to short circuit things. You know, I wonder sometimes, because I know a lot of people that crank up their noise stuff, and I wonder, um, like how taxing that is on the system sometimes. So Javar, it's more for you. It's more just so you can't hear other sounds, huh? Man, you guys have some interesting stuff happening in the chat today. I will say that. Bobcat's hand-drawn chart from 1941 with different instruments. Yeah. Oh, dude, that is a good one. Here, let's see if we can find that really quick so other people can see this. Um, I bet we can. Yep. Uh, Yeah, this. It's pretty hard to see right here, but this is what we're talking about. The frequency range, the intended operating range of these different instruments and where they fall in the frequency scale in relation to each other. It's good stuff. And you can find similar ones all over the place. Like, for instance, this one, right? Walk you through where the violin is versus the viola versus the cello versus the bass. And you can kind of see how there's these crossover points. You know, and the more instruments you stack up in this area, the more muddy your mix gets. It's a really good way to start visually reinforcing the things that you hear about as far as like mixing basics and whatnot. Huh. Oh, dude, Paul, me too. Things like Peter and the Wolf. I listened to that so many times. I listened to lots of stuff when like that when I was little. Yeah, Eric. I think a lot of people fall asleep to talking easier than they do music because music is so interesting and people can kind of drone on. Huh. Well, the white noise is to mask ambience, but if I get it right, it also kind of scrambles the signals coming into my ears and permeates through thinking or something. Huh. Pulsing lights. Huh. Yeah, that's some tricky stuff right there. Pulsing lights. All right, where were we in our sounds here? What did I just do? What was I just bouncing? Oh, yeah. Some growly stuff. I think I'm kind of over this one. I think I just want to start from a fresh here. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's send this one up like 3 octaves, maybe? Something kind of sharp. And let's do basics. All right, and turn that down. Get it back over here. And FN from that. All right, let's set this one on a trigger and let's do like a half. Let's go the other way. All right, now let's set this whole thing to some kind of rhythm here. And we'll just make a layer. And let's get some noise in here. Something fun. Let's do a guitar. All right, and let's do this pluck as well. And let's put this into a cooler sounding low pass here. Let's get just a slight little pitch bend in there. And let's smear this whole thing out. Let's take a scoop out of the middle on this one. All right, and let's make this rather rough. Hmm. Not finding the one that I want. Screw it, I'll use one outside. Let's put a tiny one on here. A little small size, small pre-delay, big cuts. Thumping. Oh, Ben's got something here for us to check out. I'll check that in just a sec. Oh, Jafar, I'm just checking up with your comments here. Like at light shows and things, if the lights are just right and I'm talking to someone, I can see that they're talking to me, but I have absolutely no clue as to what they're saying. Just no comprehension at all. That is really something. Oh, man. Yeah, that's got to really be something purple to have to feel like you need to change clothes all the time. piano plugin that's not actually piano, but rather super advanced synthesis. So cool and realistic, like I couldn't tell for a long time. What's that, Polly? Piano tech. What is this? Oops, piano tech plugin. Huh. Is this the one from Mod Art? Ooh, they do a fair bit of physical modeling stuff, huh? Is this the one that you're talking about, Polly? This piano tech here? Huh. I'll have to keep this open and check it out later. Ooh, an old MIDI production of Depeche Mode. Load the MIDI file and 15 mystery tracks for me to map sounds to. Oh, dude. Nice, Paul. I was such a big Depeche Mode fan back in the day. Huh. Ooh, Saffron is asking how the Funky Pack was made. Oh, man. Okay, so the Funky Pack, which is this month's free pack for subscribers, by the way. If you hit the Discord, you can just download it from the subscriber rewards room. The Funky Pack, how is it made? Well, these are toppers. So first I made a bunch of really cool toppers, and then I filtered them or processed them with some comb filters and stuff to put it easily and low level. The other, I was thinking of getting electronic drum kit just so I can take the sample. You know, I used to rock a Roland V kit. It was one of my drum sets, and I really liked the crazy cool flexibility that you could get out of it. And I would sometimes load up the weirdest samples that I had created and drop them in for my kit and control them all through my kit. So it was really interesting because I'd constantly be getting like rolls and flams and stuff that were producing output that I just simply could never get any other way. So it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, Saf. So apparently everyone here is using Piano Tech but me, huh? What up, Subvids? How you doing, man? Biodynamic gardening. What is biodynamic gardening? Purple Pros. It's gardening with color therapy, and it puts the prana back into the earth. Huh. Ah, interesting. Oh yeah, you know what, Polly, the secret to a good sounding piano is actually the envelope. It's actually the envelope. Um, uh, oh, good, Subfits. I am doing well. Back continues to get better with every single passing day, which I'm seriously grateful for. Yeah, the piano sound is super tricky when you're first getting started on it, but I could probably just load a quick patch. Let's see here. Oh, I know. A lot of the... God, I need to release Undone. I have like 8 releases that I need to get out the door, you guys. Let's see here. Keys. Don't I have some keys in here somewhere? Lead. Lonesome Drifter, maybe? This is kind of the curve. If you're looking for a piano, it's probably like 10 milliseconds attack, decay of maybe close to 2 seconds. It's kind of a long decay when you stop and think about it. Maybe like a second to 2 seconds, somewhere in there. And then a sustain level of about neg 15. And then you say you're released to about 200. It's going to get you close to the right shape, and that is by far the hardest part of it when you're first getting started, I think. Let's just flip through a couple of these here. Shape. Does this take it up? There's one in here without having to recreate this all on the fly for you. There's a few. Okay, so here's a 10 millisecond, 2-second delay, negative 22 sustain, 177 release. That's the first one we looked at. This was 10 attack, 2 seconds decay, and sustain goes down, I bet, if we change the shape on this. And now we're out of it. What do these sound like before I got done with them is the question. What was that one? Lonesome Drifter? Is that what it was? Lonesome Drifter. Yeah, so here's where that first one started. And this is more of like organ, electric piano, but the action is still the same. So we're still talking, it's a good 10 milliseconds or so to maintain a transient and get your decay in there at about 2 seconds, which seems a bit longer than maybe you would expect. And a release of like 200. And start with just start with a sine to begin with. It's always going to be easier to start with a sine. Ooh, album is getting done. Subvids, this is exciting. What's up, Joseph? How you doing? Where is your link, Ben? Where is it? There it is. All right, so Ben is saying, so this is a remix. So this is a remix to Time I'm Doing. It's all synths, no actual instruments. Once you understand frequencies, you can do anything. Okay, so here we go. Word. And you know, I would also say, going back to this conversation about frequencies and using your ears and getting things to sound right, and now entering into this where you're like trying to recreate something specifically from scratch. There are no rules when it comes to layering, and a lot of guys like Hans will have so many more layers than you may initially suspect. And that sometimes it's better to have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things playing simultaneously that you can have granular control over, rather than trying to make it all in one patch or something. These things may feel as one, but they're oftentimes not, right? Right. So trying to like figure it all out with your ears, yeah, that can be pretty tough. I'm probably going to get a DMCA for this. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Ben.
idea. Resilient, highly contagious. Once an idea has taken hold of the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate. An idea that is fully formed, fully understood, that sticks. In the dream state, your conscious defenses are lowered, and it makes your thoughts vulnerable to theft. It's called abstraction. We can train your subconscious to defend itself and even be most skilled extractor. I am the most skilled extractor.
It's a pretty fun way to lead into that, Ben. Also, speaking of Inception, I think it goes off of Netflix in a couple of days. So for those with Netflix and you're wanting to see it and haven't or something, there you go. Oh, and I'm just seeing Eric's comment here. Christian Henson put out a YouTube video today. Yay! He's the best. Covering his new piano sample. One of the points he made was that the piano sound doesn't start at the first big transient. There's a bit before, including that gives it its character. Yes, and I would say that when you guys watch me chop stuff up, especially using the strip silence tool, and I am always adding the pre-attack time and the post-release time, even though the computer is like, oh, this is all you need. It's for that exact same reason. The same exact thing occurs with a wide range of sounds, as not just the piano. Voices are notorious for this. We make so many nuanced movements with our mouth to create very specific textures in our pronunciation. Especially with things like S's and F's and W's and H's. There's this lead up to it, and it's across the board with so many different types of instruments. And when you're creating stuff with just synths and electronic type sounds, you don't really see that. You don't really get to appreciate that. And then those other instruments seem really tricky when you're trying to create them. Yeah, Pauly, that the decay being way shorter, that is like 100% of people when they first start trying to create some kind of realistic piano or keys or something. It takes at least a couple seconds to get from peak to sustained volume with a lot of these instruments naturally. It's just that we're not really thinking in seconds when we're listening to these things. We switch immediately over to like this emotional mindset. I think it's part of why time becomes suspended largely with music and why we kind of lose track with things there. So Hashkey, thank you for the follow. Thanks for hanging with us today. Yeah, let's check out the rest of this thing from Ben here. I better, Hashkey. I've been doing it for a very long time. Benny, I didn't even ask you. Are you looking for feedback on this, or were you just wanting to share? Normally, I'm so used to just typing stuff up for you, dude. I'm happy to throw you some thoughts if you want. How many people waiting for feedback? Actually, no one right now, Hashkey. If you want to drop something in, you absolutely can. Nothing against little kids streaming, but yeah, no, that's. You want both? Okay, here. Let me just pull up a. Well, the whole here, I'll just give you the verbal feedback for the first half. The entire time intro was fantastic. The slowed down sample is good, but I think you need to EQ your verb a bit tighter on that because it was I think just a little bit too much low end weight in it, honestly, for the big pads in the background. All right, on to the kick.
Resilient, highly contagious. Once an idea has taken hold of the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate. An idea that is fully formed, fully understood, that sticks.
All right. So, yeah, the beginning, dude. I would say that this you submitted an ambient track going back like 3 months, 3.5 months ago. You had some really nice pad work in that, but this I think surpasses that. You can tell that you've listened to the original track a number of times. Um, but I like it, and I like that you didn't try to do it all in a single pad. Um, and I already mentioned the sample, the feedback. I don't really have a bunch of critiques for this one, dude. Around, I'm not sure where this is. I just started typing around 245, but yeah, around 2 minutes or so onward until you hit the, I don't know, 3.5 minute mark or so. The mids do seem a bit busy simply because you've got everything stacked up there. So I would recommend maybe just some basic volume mixing, honestly. I wouldn't get very fancy with it. I love the flow. It's nice and gentle. And the juxtaposition with the really sharp bass pluck and the clearly defined drums, like it adds a certain something, right? So probably just simple volume variations. And it's just so you can kind of peekaboo each one of the individual elements in play so people can kind of tune their ears into them more than anything else. It's not that any one sound is the hero in this track. So was the bass in Serum? If so, it sounds like it. If so, I just add just a smidge of bend plus to the main orc, the main oscillator. Just through like a simple pluck LFO. So it only touches the peak for about a millisecond or so. I really have no other critiques for you on this one. DePacavelli, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Well, hopefully that was kind of starting from the top. I didn't really have a whole lot of like critiques, like I said. It was just general feedback. And again, your pad work in the very beginning was really, really nice. It's really nice. And I thought about the track that you submitted last week, which was the older track, like from a few years ago. And it got me thinking that some of your newer productions, if you were to dip back in and take, I mean, I know that there's been a genre shift for you over the past few years, or like a focus shift. But you might want to go back and take a look at some of the programming work that you were doing on bass design specifically, like 4 years ago, and see what parts have changed, like in your basic approach, right? Because I know that you've got, like the first 15 moves that you make when you're programming a bass are mostly the same, right? So what's changed in those initial steps? Because there's a fair bit of a difference in mid-range definition in the sounds with basses specifically that you were making a few years ago compared to what you're making today. And I think that some of that edginess and like clearly defined energy, I think that would translate super, super well into the type of music that you've been making these days. So hope that helps. The Verb has no EQ. Ben, man. Seth, I'm just seeing your mention of every time I listen to your music, it reminds me of the Matrix. That's funny. Or some cyberpunk scene. Yeah, an orc oscillator, a Lord of the Ring modulators. Oh man, that's freaking hilarious. That'd be great if we could make a Lord of the Ring synth, and it's basically like wavetables made out of nothing but grunts and groans and stuff, and then just a ton of ring mod. Like everything is ring mod. It's the only main modulation effect that you have. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Yes, yes, Cardiac. I do have tips. I always have tips because savages have no place in the studio. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a drummer. I'm freaking savage. It's just that I don't practice savage reverb. That's all. I always EQ my reverb. My tips would be this. Keep in mind that some of the most brilliant minds in the business are heavily influenced by what was taking place in the Abbey Road studios when they were becoming, the bee's knees, if you will. And you know what their secret sauce was from the very beginning? They had something like this setup on every single reverb channel that they had cooking in that studio. They never allowed frequency. Well, never. I'm sure that there were very, very rare exceptions to this, but predominantly, and you can actually hear this once you understand what's happening. You can go back and listen to like Beatles albums and hear this. They didn't let frequencies squeak through in a reverb tail between 6 and 6,000, 600 and 6,000. And think about that. Think about that. When you have a brilliant vocalist, let's say it's just this full range, soulful, angelic female vocalist, okay? And you're recording with just rich and creamy verb, right? It's just this hauntingly beautiful thing. Her enunciations are slightly elongated for effect, right? It's just hauntingly gorgeous. There's something happening on the board here. Like in this project, if you were to dive in, you would see a sidechain trigger on the reverb, okay? On the reverb output. The sidechain trigger itself is the vocalist. So that reverb is on this vocalist, and this vocalist is cutting away the reverb whenever her signal gets to a certain point, right? So it's almost immediate. And the reason why you do that is because you don't want those pre-existing frequencies hanging around when you want her words to be understood, right? So you do a similar thing with a kick and a bass synth, right? Because bass synths are so gnarly and they sit down so low, and electronic kicks, they're notorious for getting lost in this low-end soup, right? So you're constantly using the kick as a trigger to attenuate the volume of the bass, and so you can hear it, right? So just think about that same exact concept and apply it to these drunken imbeciles, which are the frequencies in a reverb tail. Any time-based effect, actually, right? This should be said about delay, and to be perfectly fair and technical, reverbs, our reverb plugins are delays, okay? They're just extreme delays. So you've got to wrangle that stuff in, because if you don't, just imagine, the low-end frequencies are the really big drunk guy at a party that doesn't even realize that he's knocking people over and knocking things off of tables, right? He's just going to keep drinking. He's going to keep bumping into stuff, and everyone's going to be annoyed by it. That's exactly what happens in your music when you allow a reverb tail just to like roam around willy-nilly in your projects. You got to wrangle that stuff in. And when you wrangle that stuff in and you eliminate the large amount of lethargic or cumbersome frequencies, then the remaining frequencies are kind of nimble enough to play nicely with the rest of the people at the party, if that makes sense, right? They're still coherent enough to kind of be like, oh, excuse me. Oh, here you go. You know what I mean? I know it's kind of a weird, cheesy analogy, but still. Cardiac, Anthony, high five. Psh, drummers, unite. We're always the butt of everyone's jokes, even our own, aren't we? Ring mod is not lame, Ben. Go take a timeout. You kidding me? Ring mod? It's not lame, dude. You can't even have magic without ring mod. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You name one good magic spell that was ever great that didn't involve ring mod. Come on, man. Come on. Ooh, purple is base. Maybe that's why I chose it today. How funny. Oh, that's interesting because I use purple as the color predominantly for base in my projects. Oh, Abbey Roads, not Happy Roads. Okay, so here's the thing though, Cardiac. Okay, this is just a starting point. Like, this is not something at all that I adhere to. But I will tell you what, I never allow these frequencies down here out in a reverb tail. Because anything down here that's being let out is just, it's just straight damning. It really is. And the same thing goes for up here. There's too much opportunity. There's too much opportunity for mayhem to occur. When things start to get loud and these frequencies up here, they hurt and they make it hard for us to like still perceive enjoyment at higher levels. These down here are really quick to muddy and darken a mix and just kind of slur definition, blur definition. That said, one-off sounds, you can keep that stuff in. If there's a sound solo, right, like thunder, right, you want those low frequencies in there. So it's all about when. There's a time and place for everything, right? You may not want your the large majority of the sub frequencies reverberating in a big thunderclap because you want the original integrity of those sub frequencies to really rattle the bones of the people hearing it, right, and feeling it. And that's only going to happen if they're not obscured or obfuscated in some way, right? Because as soon as you start to kind of blur the definition down low, it moves into this kind of generic rumble, and you don't have the kind of effect, right? There's kind of a guttural clarity to those really low frequencies. So in a solo effect or a solo sound, you can roll this back, right? If this was some really monstrous roar, like a lion or a dinosaur or something like that, you could roll it to like maybe here. So you're still getting a fair bit of these sub frequencies here between like 50 and 80. But a large degree of the stuff around 30 or so has just simply been removed, right? So, Hashkey's got something. Don't know if this is finished. Well, that's good. That's good. The twins. Yeah, so, there's always exceptions to the rules. There's always exceptions to the rules. Go back and listen to The Orb, right? And not only did they let a lot of reverb through that wouldn't be allowed through in the similar types of productions today, but they also moved that stuff around, right? It was highly disorienting, psychedelic effect, right? Their ability to play with psychoacoustics is kind of revealing in regards to what you can get away with in frequency play. Would like to know my take on ring mod. Ring mod kind of helps make the world go round. Ring mod is one of those effects that kind of sits aside from other effects, right? When you're talking about frequency modulation, right, affecting the frequency of one thing through another thing. There's amplitude modulation, same thing, right? And phase modulation, right, where you're manipulating the phase position of the playback of the oscillator, right? But ring modulation kind of stands on its own, right? And it's a bit of this multiplication process. And because of that, you get both um, movement and tonal change over time. And when you dip down into those lowest frequencies, you can really hear a lot of the movement, right? I feel like a lot of people stay up in frequency and they dismiss ring mod as something that's there for like the tinnitus effect or something. But that's really not the case. The large majority of the power of this thing, I mean, there's lots of stuff you can do in the mid and high range, don't get me wrong. But when you go down in frequencies, like below 100, like getting down to like maybe 30 hertz or 5 hertz or something, you get very clear LFO modulations out of it. And these are the realms where we get the most play, right? Sound design wise, because we can take something like a rock scraping on your driveway. You could take that and just with ring mod alone, turn that into a cinematic quality effect in about 3 seconds, right? You try doing that with any other effect with that little rock on a sidewalk or whatever, you're not really going to get anything. It's just going to sound like a rock on a sidewalk. So on its own, base face value, I would say it's freaking amazing, and that a lot of people don't see the full potential of something like that because it's not directly applicable to what they're working on, right? Or no one's actually shown them how it can be directly applicable to what they're working on. I feel like a lot of stuff was lost when dubstep started coming up about 12 years ago, or 10 years ago, maybe at its height, like when everyone actually knew like more than 5 Skrillex songs at about that point, right? Everyone started jumping into this, and there were so many people torrenting plugins and stuff and following this kind of one mode of cooking, if you will, that we just kind of lost a fair bit of appreciation and understanding of what a certain range of tools was even for. And it's taken time for a lot of those things to come back into conversation. Now that we're seeing a lot of those cooking methods being introduced to other forms of music, right? New hybrids coming out. But you're going to see, as people become more desperate for money in the music production world, they're all going to start making sounds for video games and film and stuff. This has happened before and before and before in this industry. People will start really gaining a better understanding and more control over all of the tools in their tool set. And you'll see younger people using ring mod in really interesting ways. Sample and hold even dropped off there for a bit, and you're hearing it come back in really unique and powerful ways now. And like, there is no need for that to ever drop off. It's just something that happens. For example, there's an old Kanye West that has reverb on the 808 kick rattling like crazy. Oh yeah. There's always exceptions to the rules. It's just got to fit the mood of what you're doing is all. And it can't wreck the freaking mix, right? The people that can get away with low-end reverb, they're still wrangling in the EQ on the reverb. They're just wrangling in different frequency ranges, right? There are keys. There are keys. Stupid question, but why is there an EQ and dampening in most reverb plugins? Aha! So, and this is one of the things that's just absolutely glorious about Chromaverb too. So this is a fantastic question. The difference, there's a damping EQ here, right? And then there's also the output EQ in one interface. So damping is kind of like release or decay. Okay, so a damping EQ gives you decay control over the frequencies within certain ranges, within certain bands that you're wrangling. A basic EQ is dealing with volume. So one is dealing with decay time, basically, and the other one is dealing with volume. So if you eliminate frequencies with a cut with a basic EQ, you are quite literally removing the amplitude. You're not allowing a signal through to a certain point. Versus damping, you are. It's just that it may not last that long. If you've increased the damping, the amount of ring or sustain or resolve or whatever word you want to put to it is lessened. It takes less time for that thing to just whoosh, disappear. Does that make sense? Mood ring magics. Yeah, I've done a fair bit of that hash key where you mangle verb tails and stuff. Quite a bit of it, actually. In fact, there's still a bunch of people that argue that my approach to detuning multiple reverbs in a single environment is kind of some of the early multi or like deep dimensional verb stuff that you get into. Yeah, so see, now here, right here, what Eric is saying, I'm still catching up in the chat, guys. Eric is saying, I think the low end verb on techno is what gives its character, particularly Berlin style techno. So that right there is it summed up in a nutshell. That is that specific thing. That's its specific thing. It's just like Southern hip hop and crunk and trap and like how that actually happened, right? And what it was, right? The gliding 808s and the really dirty bass and like how it actually began, right? When you go back and you listen to early boom bap, that's like an affront to these guys who wanted really concise, clear chops, you know? More focus on the swing and the swagger of it all. Yeah, so this is really just about thing, and this is, I mean, this is what I spend a great deal of time on with people at the higher end of learning in private sessions, and that is, what is your sound, right? Right? Think about growing up with rock and roll, and bands had a sound, right? The guitarist played with one kind of guitar, the drummer played with one kit, right? And they had a very clearly defined sound, right? Guns N' Roses, Queensryche, Motley Crue, whatever, right? Toto. It doesn't matter who, because each one had a clearly defined sound. And yeah, they were working with producers. They were working with people that understood how to take certain instruments or whatever and make it their own. Other guys didn't. Other guys figured that stuff out just naturally as they were getting started because they didn't understand what the rules were yet. So they didn't even realize that they were breaking rules or starting something new. And that's exactly how that kind of stuff like the Berlin sound happens, right? Or the French bass sounds happen or whatever, you know? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll also agree with Eric here. In those scenarios, it's not fighting against anything. It's in a metal band, it would sound awful. 1000%. Yeah. And yeah, glitch effects made way for the super smooth vocal sounds. Absolutely. Yeah. And vice versa, right? It's all about contrast, juxtaposition, separation nowadays because people's mixes are so busy or they're playing with a complex idea. So even when they're playing with kind of a minimalist arrangement or approach to something, there's all sorts of like trickery and shenanigans and mad cooking happen behind the scenes to make all of that reach fruition. You know what I mean? So it's all just about finding the lanes that the things need to stay in to get the kind of sound that you're after. That's really it. Oh, well, thank you, Hashkey. And speaking of Discord, just a quick reminder, everybody that wants to grab Funky for free, which is this month's free download, make sure that you re-up your sub before it disappears at the end of the month and the next one pops up because I'm not going to put Funky back up for a while. And it's $10 normally, so, you know. What is it that you spend here? I think it's $5 for a basic sub, right? It's a pretty good deal. Plus whatever else gets up there. And Hashkey, you'll notice also that I really don't do the socials much, and I really don't type up much on Discord, so it's mostly just going to be for grabbing free stuff while you're here. Yeah, Eric likes Ring Mod. And yeah, using ring mod to make hats in VCV. You can use ring mod to make so many awesome things. And it's basically a way to get into LFO modulation in stuff that doesn't have an LFO for those lower frequencies, right? To get that kind of movement. There's just so many cool things that you can do with it. Yeah. Polly, so good to have you back in the mix today, homie. I will see you soon. Have a good one. Ben, yeah, I can do another one for you really quick. I got to scroll back up and find out where that link is from hash. There it is. We're going to do a little feedback really quick. Have I mentioned yet today just how good it feels to be able to sit and freaking work again? Lift with your knees, folks. Lift with your fucking knees.
I thought I was the only one here. So did I. Going up. Someone there? Hello?
All right. So great one. I'd give your intro like maybe just a half second. It seems like it hits so suddenly that if this were being played um, like in a mix of some kind, you're gonna miss part of it's gonna feel just a little bit weird. It almost sounds like part of it is being cut off in a way. So maybe just like just a smidge of extra time there, and maybe just put like a super super small fade on it or something. Um, just personal taste thing. Verb EQ, maybe just a little bit too much down low. Not necessarily right now, and I'm speaking more about the intro part when you can hear the individual elements quite clearly before all the melodic stuff comes in. But I think when everything gets expanded, it might be a bit too thick down there. Loving that spring though. Around 115 or so, that synth, it's got kind of like an Eru kind of formanty kind of thing. And then it becomes like this main melodic element. I'd bring that up earlier. It's lovely. It's lovely. I think it gets a little hidden there at first. And the texture that you've got running at that point that stays till the end is just fantastic, by the way. Around 150 or so, before you get into this first drop off, you might want to consider periodic delays on that snare. You've got such a cool, thick, kind of atmospheric, textured vibe going that a couple of snare reflections in there would sound super dope. And during this drop off, you might even want to consider putting an LFO on the decay parameter of your main verb that's cooking in that spot, just to draw people's attention to the fact that, hey, some of these hits are lasting just a little bit longer in space than these other ones. It's a super cool effect that I use all the time. Around 240, that reverse into the void, if you will, is awesome. But I personally would encourage you to go even harder on that cut and remove maybe everything except for one thing. Maybe just like your dust element in that verb. Anything else leaves just a little bit much. It's not quite hanging yet. Let's listen to this. Right here. You know, I think I'd change two things about this personally. I think I would go, I think I'd put a bright white noise riser in there as a really subtle element right behind it. And that is what gets the big verb on at the end. And then maybe just bring down the volume of this one last remaining instrument and have it kind of fade back up or something. It just seems like it's not quite as big a drop off for full on dramatic effect there as it could be. It's super awesome move there. Around 3 minutes, that bass, when you come back out of this, dude, I think there's a really good opportunity. I think there's a really good opportunity for some shininess to be brought about by just like 3% wet, maybe, but fairly aggressive, like a 6-bit downsampled 1113 times, something like that. When this comes back in from this drop here, you might want to consider very, very subtle saturation swells on your reverb track, where you're just adding just a little bit of heat every so often. Maybe it's on like an 8-bar LFO, so it's really slow, or maybe it's a 6-bar, so it feels just slight, like that slight bit of wonk in there. Okay, and then this is just a general note. This bass, you've got this dub feel to this thing. And that makes me want to tell you to hold one of those notes for just like a half note every once in a while, right? To kind of get not like a full dotted swing in there, but every once in a while you just got one that just hits just a sec later than you might anticipate, right? And give it that kind of and then at the end, I have no idea if this is an intentional or an unintentional ending here with just this silence here with the kind of vinyl thing going. You could have a really subtle noise riser just kind of push out to the end and have that thing kind of cream out over that. Might be a cool way to end. All right, catching up with chat here. I think I'm about where we were. Well, if that's all you're expecting from the Discord, then you're going to be happy with it, because that's that's pretty much all that's going on there, Hashkey. And I'm glad that you find what I'm saying extremely instructional. That's great. Original dubstep train, I hear it. A dead train. I don't know. I think that people that are still producing it with passion are doing some pretty great things. I agree with Cardiac on this one. Anthony's saying that that's a great sample in the intro. I would agree. I would also agree with his comment about the perfect kick. Yeah, anytime you don't hear me give any kind of criticism to the actual sounds, I'm thinking that it's a great palette. I should have prefaced my comments with that, because this is your first feedback from me. But here, if you're screenshotting, I might need to bring this down here. And these are all on VOD as well. Yeah, very interesting sound design. I would agree with Subvids there. That's what does it for me. I really like this track. Yeah, Eric, it seems like a lot of the things that have come out of the evolution of dub over the years have been missed by a great many people. And I feel for those people, but I'm happy that we have not missed them. Oh yeah, a bit of Burial in there too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, anyone who's not listened to any of Burial's stuff from beginning to end should, because they're all damn masterpieces. Yeah. Oh, cool. Lab West, dude. How are you? How are you? How are things in the hood, homie? If not wrong, kick with synthesis. Ha ha ha. Awesome. Feel free to bring stuff back anytime, Hash. This is great stuff. This is great stuff. Yeah, I'm interested to know, Lab. How are you, man? Have you been vaccinated yet? We're starting to get messages over here that we can actually find vaccines when we go places now. I'm assuming the same for you down the street. All right, Ben, I'm assuming that this is the other thing you wanted some feedback on. NTNCUXA. No, this is a different... I see two different links in the chat from you, Ben. I've got time for one more for you. You want to pick the one you want me to do? And I'm happy to do it. You know, what if this other layer had a pitch down? What if I do that? What if I put this one like this, kind of wonkiness, and then did a pitch down on the course, and just like a one tick. Yeah. And what if if we take this whole thing down too? No, what if we take it up 3 instead? Ooh. Nah, it's too much. 2? Let's go down a fair bit on this then. Let's go up one more on this one. This thing might need. Here, let's just bounce this really quick. We'll call this 3 base. I forget what that even was, 16ths maybe. And on this bounce, let's put shaper box on here. I will play with that more. Miguel, dude. Miguel, how are you? Dude, I haven't seen you in a while. How the heck are you? Dude, seriously. Just to circle back really quick, I agree with Ben Hashkey. That was a great deep dub. All right. Thank you for clearing up the question about the link, Ben. I will get on that. Anthony, you do need Shaperbox. In fact, let me see if I can get you guys a nice deal on that really quick. Please hang tight. Well, it doesn't look like it's on sale right now, but if you grab it from this link, you can also get Wavebox from Audio Thing for free. Let me just send this to you in the chat here, you guys. Glory day, it's a wonderful thing. For those of you who have not seen Wavebox yet, I'll reach out to Audio Thing and see if we can get a copy of it for review. And share it with you guys because it's like next level wave shaping stuff. And I just put a link into the chat for Shaperbox because I'm sure that Anthony is not the only one that wants to pick it up. So if you do, you can at least get something really super awesome and it's super cutting edge because Wavebox was just released like a couple days ago, like last Friday or Wednesday or something like that, if I remember. All right, so Ben says, the intro is hot garbage, but the drop, I want your opinion on the sounds and if there's anything you hear. Okay, cool. Let me just quickly catch up, and then I'll click on that. That bass is sick. I'm going to head sidechain to a kick. Yeah. Right, Cardiac? Dude, Miguel, how are you? How are things down there in Brazil, man? Are you okay? How are things? You staying inspired? Update us. Oh, snap. Wait, the bass reminds you of a roller coaster at Oaks Park? That's amazing. And yes, Shaperbox is an Aladdin's cave of easily accessible weirdness. You know what? I think that it's akin to, all the Sugar Bite stuff that was like super, super hot. I know people are still using it, but remember how awesome and amazing and groundbreaking it was when it first came out like 10 years ago or so? Message Music, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you being here. That's kind of how Shaperbox feels because they're constantly updating it and putting in new things, and I freaking love them for that. It's awesome. wait. Oh, I'm reading through these chats and I thought, Purple Pros, that you were saying you duct taped a pillow to your sister, but I just... Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, Eric, you've never been on a roller coaster. At some point, you should do it for the experience. No worries at all, Ben. I was actually just working on a sound and ignoring you guys anyway, so it turns out it worked out just fine. Gebro, how are you doing, homie? It's been a minute. How am I doing? I'm doing so much better, dude. I can sit up straight and work again. My back was a complete wreck for a couple of weeks, but I've been back in the grind for a couple of weeks now, and I'm feeling pretty good. Oh, Paul, yeah, dude, if you got Wavebox, go freaking crack that thing open and check it out. Ooh, Thing Motor is 9 and get weight box for free. Now that's a way to work it, man. Right there. How is Thing Motor, by the way? Is it cool? And yes, I would agree with Eric. Even at 79 pounds, Shaper Box is a bloody goodbye, and it's super awesome. And for those who have had Shaper Box 2 for a minute and haven't done an update in a while, make sure that you do that, because if you don't have a drive module yet in there, you have a free module being added to your Shaper Box that you have not played with yet, and it's pretty awesome. It's nice to be able to add various types of drive without being like forced to use the bit crush. And the nice thing about it, I'll just open it up for you really quick here. The nice thing about that drive unit is that you get to choose. There's soft clip, hard clip, soft square, hard square, soft rectify, hard rectify, skew, sine, triangle, and extreme fold. So it's got all the basic flavors built in, which is super, super nice. Sad. Most of my music is trash. Oh, man. Yes, Gebro, for you, I will hang around for a minute. So I'm going to do this quick bit of feedback for Ben, and then Gebro, and then we're shutting down feedback for the day, and I'm going to go step into a jam session with Zev, I think. And I'll bump this link down to the bottom of the chat. And I'll also put this up there for those who are currently subbed. You go grab a free sound pack. This month's free sound pack is Funky Rhythmic Comb Toppers. Okay, clicking on this link from Ben. This is an interesting one. You're going to need a long crossfade for this, I think. And there's got to be a backing riser, I think. Good, like 8 bars for tension, and probably detuned, because it does sound almost as if there's like a key shift here or something. So if you could just unsettle the listener completely before that. No key change, just tonal tension, huh? All right, so a couple things here for you. First, I'd adjust that fade in the intro. I think it hangs in silence just a bit too long. I'm not sure if that's just on a slow fade and you can adjust that easily or what, but I'd have it start to peak out like after just 1 second maybe. And just adjust the curve so it can come up slower, like a more dramatic concave curve if you want to. I would just make it more audible sooner in the arrangement as well. At 30 seconds, I really like the little peekaboo of those different sounds right there. It's a nice little touch. So 45, and I think you were saying, were you saying that the intro was a hot mess? Is that what it is? Yeah, the intro is hot garbage, but the drop I want your opinion on. Okay, so I would, to transform this garbage into something more fancy and danceable, I'd funk it up. And we were just speaking of Shaperbox. I think that this is an ideal candidate for Shaperbox because you can build in layers of complexity that you have full wet dry control over, right? So you can bring these things in and out as you wish, whether they be really quick reverses or maybe just a quick little pitch bend or something like that. I think that it would be an easy tool to use to funk that up. Okay, so your drop. First, it's a cool idea. This reminds me just a little bit of the one where you were going into the same thing like 3 times, and there was just something a little bit off of it. I think with this one, it's just that it needs to take place over a longer period of time. I think if there was a crossfade in there from what once was to what will be, it gives you a path for that change. Without that, it ends up being kind of abrupt, and then you're not quite sure how to even get to the beat after that. It's a little bit clunky in that exchange there. So if you add a backing riser and do a long crossfade, and make that backing riser fairly detuned and maybe even kind of jangly, I bet that whole thing kind of syncs itself up in a kind of magical way. So I would do that, and I would play around with like how you do that crossfade too, because it doesn't necessarily just have to be an amplitude change. It could be a speed change, right? Like you could bounce something out that's coming up in tempo or something, right? It doesn't have to be just like a volume fade. It could be like some weird ass filter that you've created, because you've got some interesting things happening there, and I do like the idea. All right, so the beat, it's solid, good kick, slap and snare. I'd beef it up with a little bit of saturation, even if that's not a static saturation, even if it's something that kind of swells in a couple of different places. I think it would sound good. And I think that this tiny little drop right in here, this little drop off here, this is the part that reminds me of the other track that you sent through a couple months ago where it kind of restarted a couple of times. I think that needs to hang longer. You know, you left these folks hanging a long time at the intro. I would just remind yourself that these are the same people listening now, and give them that space. Make them wonder if this is going to continue, and then bring it back. Like, wait a whole bar. So 220-ish. This bass starts to sound a bit unstable, and I'm not sure that it's really the right candidate for that. You could try breaking it up through a different type of degradation, like a bit crusher, as that pitch is winding up in the background. Maybe that thing's deteriorating in a different way. Again, I like these ideas. I think that they just need to be executed a little bit differently for them to come off the way that you want them to. You know what I mean? Is all that making sense? Yep, there you go, Eric. Yeah, they always make everything so painless with Shaperbox. I really like them. Cable Guys does really great stuff. Yeah, Ben does listen to a lot of Deadmau5. He can tune into that. Good. I think you've got some complex ideas. That one pitch riser at the end is really, really simple, and I don't think it's creating the right kind of tension that you want for this. I think that little drop in here should be longer. Funk up that synth in the beginning. I'd agree with Anthony that the lead is a bit too loud. Yep. And yeah, that LFO swell feels too major for the drop. And I think that what it is that it's all happening. It just whoop bam. And you're like, what just happened? You know what I mean? Spread that out, I think. All right, Gebro, you're up. Hope you've been well, dude. These are fantastic. I'm going to listen to these again. I think your reverb might be a little bit big. Let me just listen to this again. I think I hear what's going on. Okay. I think I know what's going on here. The impacts that are driving the big low end reverb taxes. Boom. I think you need a little bit more dry in those. So there's a tiny bit more clarity and power and punch, right? The ranginess of the verb really fills it all in, but I think you need just a tiny bit more of the dry. The vocals in their reverb, I think, are fine, but I think that the reverb for the other instruments besides the big drum, I think that's too big. And if they're all sharing one reverb, that also might be what my ears kind of tuning into as being just a little bit off. I think that the drum should be at the biggest and the most epic, and the vocal just below that, and then the rest of the instrumentation, I think maybe less pre-delay on the delay and a smaller size. Slightly less decay on that one too, and I think the whole thing would sound just a little bit better. Right now, as it is, it sounds really, really great. I think that things hang in the air for just a little bit too long in the mid-range stuff. So if you were to kind of quell that, right, just kind of dampen, you could just use dampening even. Maybe wrangle in the frequencies just a touch and dampen the reverb on everything except for the big drum and that vocal. And I bet you find your sweet spot, and I bet you know it as soon as you hear it, because the power from the vocals and the drum will increase. But there should be like a noticeable step up when you get there, because the other instruments aren't going to be hanging in the air in the same way that they were before. So drum seat a bit overbearing, drown the vocals too much, or seem to be fighting for the same space. Yeah, that's what I'm cluing into right now, Eric. And yeah, I will absolutely listen to it on the Discord. And then I got to bounce because I got a session that I got to step into. Discord. What? Did I miss one? Oh, this was last time. Yeah, go ahead and toss it up here, and I will. I'll do it. Oh, there's a new product review request. Sonic Lab, huh? Okay, I will check out the Sonic Lab stuff. Thank you for the heads up on it, Saf. Looks like reactor. Okay. Back over here. Your the vocal articulation in this, Gebro, is fantastic. The arrangement is fantastic. Of course, I don't think there's a single thing that you've sent through where I didn't think that the arrangement itself was spot on. So this is very much a another where the only critiques that I have is with the actual mix. Let's check this. Well, this is still SoundCloud. The reverb on your drum should have, I don't know where the cutoff point is for your reverb, but if it's higher or if it's lower than 60 with like a 48 dB per octave curve on it, then you're not cutting enough away. I'm just tracking the chat here. Gabriel says Al Capone is my name. Eric says, shh, there was a discussion about the IRS earlier. Feds might be watching. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so that's the first thing is I would just make sure that you've actually got a clear and defined cut on that low end. And my guess is that you're probably going to feel best with it cut off dramatically on the reverb tail, that is, on the reverb channel, somewhere in here, because you really want that initial impact to come through super, super clear. And then you're probably going to want to roll off most of the top. Something like this. It should be kind of dark and moody, I think. One more time. Okay, so the other thing in the mix, Gebro, I think is just a very pointed and general question. What is the hero here? What is the main point of emphasis? Is it the drums or is it the vocals? I think you have to make a decision and you got to reduce one of them by a few decibels. I think that's the other thing that's going on here. You can also try to narrow the stereo image a bit of some of those drums. The bassier drums you could wrangle in the stereo image of, right? And make them a bit more mono so they're not spreading quite as much in the reverb. Okay, and that'll introduce a greater deal of separation for the vocals to actually sit on top of everything. They can remain nice and wide. Drum and hits. Okay, so that's what I would do. I'd bring down the vocals just a little bit. And the other thing that you can do to add a bit more separation is to move the vocals out of the middle and make sure that every single one of your biggest drums is in the center and not to the side. It'll force the focus of the listener. I would save an alt version of this project and reposition things in the stereo field, drop the vocals by somewhere between like 3 and 5 decibels or something like that, and then do an A-B comparison. And maybe do the A-B comparison tomorrow or something, right? Like give your ears a break and come back and listen super fresh. Kind of sit back away from your speakers a little bit and try to suss out how you feel about the change in position there. Because I think that some of it is just that they're sharing the same space. It's not frequency space. It's also stereo space. So, ooh, Eric is asking if there's a harmonica in there. Paul, take care, dude. Good seeing you, homie. See you on Wednesday. Yeah, it's fun to think that every one of us gets up and dances every time anyone asks for feedback. You know, I hope that there are a bunch of people getting up and dancing. Gebro, I hope that this feedback helps, dude. As always, please come back and bring us more. I got to bounce because I got to go make some noise. So Eric is saying, I think there could be some great drama in this track. Play with the vocals and drums like a question and answer, but as a challenge and response, if that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. The call and response between vocals and drums and stuff like this. Absolutely. When you only have 10 to 30 seconds to play with in a trailer, you got to make very clear and definitive decisions, I think, as far as like what is the focus, and they can be different from one cut to the next. That's the nice thing about trailer work, right? Is that if you're putting this out in a marketplace, dude, you can have 5, 6, 8, 12 different versions of the same thing. The only thing that's going to change for you and the buyer has more options, so they're obviously going to be happier because their stuff isn't going to sound exactly like everyone else's that buys your stuff. The other thing is that you get a much higher selling price out of the deal, my friend, because you've increased the overall price value perception equation for the customer and for yourself, right? Anytime you can toss in a few extra variations in a licensing bundle, it's better for everyone, I think. All right, kitty cats, I gotta bounce. I'm just gonna leave you with some music today because I don't have time to go look for a stream to raid. But I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you all on Wednesday. And yeah, big love. I hope you guys have a good, inspired couple of days. And I'll see you on the flip. Thanks again, y'all. Take care and peace out.